Class 9th, Chapter 10, Gravitation. Universal law of gravitation. Gravitation. We know that the moon goes around the earth, and object when thrown upwards reach a certain height and then falls down. It is said that when Newton was standing under a tree, an apple fell on him. The force of the apple made Newton start thinking through that if the earth can attract an apple, it cannot attract the moon. The force is the same both cases. He conjectured that the same type of force is responsible in both the cases. He argued that at each point of its orbit, the moon falls towards the earth instead of going off in a straight line. So it to be attached by the earth, but we do not really see the moon falling towards the earth. Try before the thread is released, the stone moves a circular path in a certain speed as the change direction. Every point of the change direction involves change of velocity, acceleration. Change the direction involves change of velocity or acceleration. We therefore cause this acceleration and keep a body moving along the circular path is acting towards the center. This force is called the centripetal force, center seeking force in this case. Force the stone flies off along a straight line. This straight line will be a tangent to the circular path. Tangent to a circle, a straight line that meets the circle at one and only one point is called a tangent to the circle. A straight line ABC is a straight to the circle at point B. The motion of the moon around the earth is due to the centripetal force. The centripetal force is provided by the force of attraction of the earth. If there were no such force, the moon would pursue a uniform straight line motion. It is seen that a falling apple is attracted towards the earth. Does the apple attract the earth? Yes, we do not sail along moon towards the apple. According to the third law of motion, the apple does attract the earth, but according to the second law of motion, for a given force, acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of the object. Mass of the object is relation to the mass of an apple negligible small compared to the earth. So we do not see the earth moving towards the apple. Extend the same argument for why the earth does not move towards the moon. In our solar system, all the planets go around the sun by using the same ways. We can say that there exists a force between the sun and the planets for the above facts. Newton concluded that not only does the earth attract an apple and the moon, but all objects in the universe attract each other. This force of attraction between objects is called the gravitational force. Universal law of gravitation. Every object in universe attract each other object with the force of proportional to the product of their mass and inversely proportional to the square of distance. Along the line joining center. Let two objects A and B mass and the distance from each other. So figure less of attraction between two objects to be F According to the universal law of gravitation, the force between two objects is directly proportional to the product of their mass. According the force between two objects is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Square of the distance between them. Squares of the distance between them. Combining person ever and the two force related to distance. Where G is the consistent proportionality and cause universal gravitational constant. Newton was born near Brampton, England. He is generally regarded as the most original and theorist to the theories of science. He was born in a poor family but not good. He became great university at Harvard. Solar succeed in the solar concept during the development in the Congress of Newton. During this year, in this incident of the report falling on him, said to large import the possibility of connecting gravity with the force of the moon and with the universal law of gravitation for the gravitation. Here the earliest Newton presented well-known laws. Law of the motion of the theory for the motion for the beginning astronomical telescope of the astronomical observation Newton's a great mathematician. The Newton's mathematics called the Celsius, the result of solar information density. The earth almost is concentrated in the center. Newton found the structure of physical science that three laws of motion, universal law of gravitation, keystone, 20-degree revolution, 20th century. Newton's work combined the intelligence of Kepler, Galileo, Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo, and the power something remarkable through the gravitation theory could verify time to the hungry about the sun together with the Newton guess the inverse square rule. There are always the great interest motion planet by the 20th century. The data of the motion of planets has been collected by many astronomers. Based on these data, Johannes Kepler derived three laws: law of orbit, law of orbits, law of area, law of periods. Law of orbits of the planet. An ellipse with the sun is one of the foci. So the figure is the position of the sun. The ellipse with the sun is one of the foci. Line joining the planet and the sun sweep equal areas in equal interval of time. Thus, the time of travel from A and B are the same as the from CD, and then the areas A, O, B, and OCD are equal. The cube of the mean distance of a planet from the sun is proportional to the square of the period of the R square T square constant. There is important to note that Kepler could not give a theory of explain the motion of planet. It was Newton also called the planetary motion, gravitational force. The sun experts to the Newton use of the third law of Kepler's argument to gravitational force attraction. The gravitational force of the Earth from the distance we can imagine the planetary orbit circular suppose of the orbital velocity of the radius, the sum of the force of the action of the proportional. The period 2 by r and r by r is right, and the 2 by r which is constant Kepler of the third law. SI unit of G can be obtained by substitution of time, unit of force, distance, and mass of equation square kg square. The value of G was found out by hand 1731 by using the sensitive variance. The accepted value of G is 8.673 into 10 to the minus 11 Newton meter square per kg. Newton meter square kg square. We know that there exists a force of attraction between any two objects. Force between the earth and shifting influence of force. The law is universal since that applicable bodies whether the body is small whether insensitive. That the inversely proportional to the square of the means. Example of the force bigger of the fist becomes 1 by 6 the time smaller. Important of the universal law of gravitation. The universal law of gravitation successfully explains several phenomena. Here are the conditions of the force that binds that of the earth, the motion of the moon around the earth, the moon of planets around the earth, and the less tied due to the moon of the sun. Free fall. We have learnt that the earth attracts towards the due to the gravitational force. Gravitational force are the object towards the under the alone we are also to free fall. There is any change in velocity of falling object while the falling there is no change in the direction of motion of the object, but due to the earth's attraction there will be change in the magnitude of the velocity. Any change in velocity involves acceleration. Whenever the object towards earth, acceleration involves. This acceleration is due to the earth's gravitational force. Therefore, the acceleration is called the acceleration due to the gravitational force of the earth. The acceleration due to gravity. It is noted by G. The unit of G is the same as that of acceleration, that is meter per second square. Meter square second square. We know that the second law of motion, the force of the product of the mass and acceleration rate mean the rate of stone, conductivity reality. Order the theory. There is acceleration involved the falling object due to the gravitational force and the denoted by G. Therefore, magnitude and the gravitational force will be equal to the product of mass and the acceleration due to gravity. That is mg बराबर g बराबर m into m t square. G बराबर mg m बटे d square. M is the mass of the earth and d distance between the object and earth. Let us object near the surface of the earth. The distance d in equation x now will be equal to r1, the radius of the earth. Thus, for object on the near the surface of the earth, the earth is not a perfect sphere. As the radius of the earth increases from the poles to the equator, the value of g becomes greater at the poles at the equator. For most calculations we can take a more or less constant variety of the earth, but the object far from the earth, the acceleration due to gravitational force does not vary. Calculate the value of g. The calculation value of g should be the put value of g and r equation is not one, namely universal gravitational constant. G was 6.7 into 10 to the power minus 11, 6.7 into 10 to the power minus 11 nm square per kg square. Mass of the earth m बराबर 6 to 10 24 kg and the radius of the earth r बराबर 6.4 into 10 to the power 6 m meter. Thus the value of g due to gravitation of the 9.8 g barabar 9.8 meter per second, where motion of the object under the influence of the gravitational force of the earth, greater the activity under the we know that the object experiences acceleration during the portion of the acceleration experienced by the object is independent of its mass. This means that all objects, hollow or solid, big or small, should fall at the same rate. According to the story, Galileo dropped different objects from the top of the leaning tower of Pisa in Italy to prove that the same g is constant at the earth as the equation for the uniformly accepted motion of the object become valid with the acceleration replaced by g equation or u बराबर v बराबर u बराबर a t plus u बराबर a t plus this by u equal to s, where v and the initial and the final velocity s is the distance or the power of time. In the applying this equation takes acceleration positive when the direction of the velocity, when the direction of motion acceleration will be taken negative when the oppose the direction, negative oppose the direction of motion velocity, direction of motion acceleration. Mass as a unit kg. We have learned the previous chapter the object measure of its initial. We also learned the greater the mass, the greater is the inertia. It remains the same whether the object on Earth, Moon, even the outer surface of the mass of an object is constant. The mass of an object is constant and does not change any place चेंज नहीं होता, मास कहीं चेंज नहीं होता, उसको कांस्टेंट होता है. ऐसा weight ऐसा यूनिट न्यूटन. We know that Earth attract every object with a certain force and the force depends on the mass. Force depends on mass and the object and the acceleration due to gravity. Weight of an object with the which of the attached towards the Earth. We know F बराबर m है. As F बराबर m है the force attraction of the Earth object. We know weight of the object is denoted by W. Substituting the same of the equation. W बराबर mg. V as weight on object, force with which of attached towards the Earth. The SI unit of weight is the same of the force मतलब Newton. That is Newton. Weight of the force acting vertically downwards goes the magnitude of the direction. We learned that the value of g is constant at the place. Therefore, with the place of weight of the object directly proportional to the mass, say the object W बराबर m. W proportional to m. We do the reason that give place. We can use the weight of an object to the measure of its mass. The mass of an object remains the same everywhere, that is on the Earth and on any planet, whereas its weight depends on its location. Weight of an object on Moon. We have learned that the weight of the object for which Earth attracts the object. In the same way, the weight of an object on the Moon is the force with the Moon attracts the object. The moon of the Moon is less than the Earth. Due to this, the Moon exerts lesser force to attraction of object. Let the mass of an object be m. Let weight of the Moon is W. The Earth it is okay. By applying the universal law of gravitation, weight of the object is the motion. It is the object with the method of the radius r. Question we have stunning value of the object energy. Earth का mass 5.98 into 10 power 24. Moon का 7.36 into 10 power 22. College thrust and pressure. Have you wondered can a camel run directly army tank weight more than 1,000 tons route around the 1,000 kilometer or the motorcycle? Passenger tires with the root of the drugs of the phenomenon of the concept of the net force of the particular direction. Thrust the force of area. Force per unit area, force per unit area pressure, let us force concern. Let us try understand the meaning of the thrust and pressure and consider the given situation. Various fixed posture and everything present. Place down pin and the thumb supply of the force as the area leading between the force of direction perpendicular to the surface area to the point force a smaller area at the tip of the pin. Situation should the stand up loose, stand your feet on the deep into the stand. Now lie down and stand. You will find that the body will not the deep and the stand. The both case position and the weight of the body. High knowledge hub. Hi. We have learned that weight is the force acting vertically downwards. There is force is acting perpendicular to the surface of the sand. The force acting on it is always perpendicular to the surface is called thrust. When you stand loose, stand force with the weight of your body is acting on the area equal to the shape. You lie down. Some force acting area equal to the contact areas of the whole body, which is larger than the area of your feet. Thus the effects for the same magnitude on the different areas of different areas are different. In the above case, thrust is the same but effects are different. Therefore, the effect of thrust depends on the area of the X. The effects of thrust on sand is large while lying. The thrust on unit area called pressure. Thus, pressure or thrust area. Pressure or thrust by area. Substitution SI unit of thrust and area in the equation. SI unit of pressure as the Newton meter square. Newton meter square. Newton meter square. In honor of the scientist Blaise Pascal. The use unit of pressure is called Pascal. Use unit of pressure Pascal denoted by PA. Let's consider example of the thrust. Present pressure in fluid or fluid gases. Fluid solid exert pressure is due to the weight. Similarly, fluid weight and they also exert pressure on the base and walls of the container in the they are closed. Pressure exert in any confidence mass of the fluid transmitted and dismissed in the all directions. Buoyancy. Have you ever had a swim in a pool and felt lighter? Have you ever drawn the water from the well and fit on the bucket from water is heavier when out of the water? Have you ever wondered why the ship made of iron and steel do not sink in seawater, but whether the same amount of iron and steel in the form of a ship? Would think these questions can be answered by taking buoyancy. In the consideration, let us understand the meaning buoyancy. Buoyancy is done the activity. The force due to the gravitational attraction of the earth acts on the bottle of the downwards direction. The bottle is pulled downwards, but water exerts and the upward force. Bottle is the bottle pulls the learned weight of the force. Gravitational force exert with the emergence of upward exert. The water in the bottle is greater than the weight, therefore rise up the release. Take a bottle completely immersed downward. The bottle due to the water must be balanced. This is achieved the external force downwards. Full force released is equal to the difference between force of the earth and water. The upward force is on the bottle is known as upthrust force. Upthrust force or buoyant force. Upward force exerted by the water bottle is known as in fact experience force buoyancy when the fluid. Magnitude of the buoyant force depends on the density of the fluid. Depends on the density of the fluid. Density of the fluid. Why object floats or sinks when placed on the surface of the water? The nail sinks the force due to the gravitational attraction of the earth on the iron nail pull it downwards. There is a thrust of water on the nail when pushed upwards but downward force acting on the nail greater than the thrust force of the water nail sink. The cork float while the nail sink. The happen because the difference in their densities. The densities of the substance is defined as the mass per unit volume. The density of cork is less than the density of water. This means that the upthrust of water on the cork is greater than the weight of the cork, so it floats. The density of an iron nail is more than the density of water. This means that the upthrust of water the iron nail is less than the weight of the nail. Therefore, object is density less than that of the liquid float on the liquid. The object on the density greater of the liquid sink in the liquid. Archimedes principle. You will find that the elongation of the string or the reading of the balance decreases and the stone is gradually lowered in water. The further changes of the once of the stone measure of the water. The wetting surface decrease and the extension of the string the surface balance. We know that elongation produces the spring balance. Spring balance due to the weight of the stone. Since the extension decrease due to lower in water. It means the same force acting stone in the upward direction. As a result, the net force on the string decreases and hence the elongation also decreases. To discuss the earlier of the force for water known as force of buoyancy. What is the magnitude of the buoyant force experienced by Bobby is same or weight of the given weight does all the given experience of the same buoyant force? Answer to these questions is contaminated in Archimedes principle states as follows: when a body is immersed fully or partially in a fluid, it experiences an upward force that is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by it. Now, can you explain why the further decreases in the elongation of the string was not observed in activities now as one stone is fully immersed in Archimedes was Greek scientist discovered the principle of suspension name after him. After noticing the water of the float of the star of the run to the sweat of street shouting Eureka when the mean of this knowledge helped them determine the purity of the gold of the crown of the king. Out of the friend geometry and the mechanics made him famous with the understanding the purity weights and the legs. He helped the Greek army of the Roman army. This principle has many applications. Let us design ship and submarine, Ship and submarine lactometer which are used to determine the purity of simple milk, ship milk, and hydrometer use contamination density of the liquid based on the principle ship of the submarine. Ships and submarine selectometers which are used to determine the purity of sample of milk, and the hydrometer used to determine the density of liquid. Hydrometer determines the density of the liquid based on the principle hydrometer density of milk, density of liquid. Hydrometer relative density. Unit density substance defines the mass of a unit volume. The unit of density kilometer per meter cube. Relative density kilometer per meter cube. The density given substance on the stone remains the therefore density of the one constant property defines density. For example, gold and ethnometer density of the given sample of substance help us to determine the purity of the exponent density of the relative density substantiation of the water. Relative density of the density variation relative ratio and the similar quantities and no unit. Relative density equal to unit नहीं होता है, unit नहीं होता, root no unit. Ship submarine lactometer used to determine the purity of milk, and hydrometer determines density of fluid. Density of fluid. The law of gravitation states that the force of attraction between two objects proportional to the product of their mass is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Law applies of the universe, and such law is also universal. Gravitation weak force less large measure involves force gravitation is earth is gravity. Force of gravity decreases altitude also varies surface of earth decreasing of the major equator. Weight of the body is force with the earth attracts. Weight of the acceleration is due to gravity. Weight of the apply due to the stay constant. All objects experience a force buoyancy when they emerge on a fluid. Object having density less than the fluid left with the square or the float. The surface liquid of the density of object is more than density of liquid in which the immerse then sink of the liquid. Sink and the liquid. Ship and submarine lactometer is used to determine the purity of the milk. Hydrometer determines the density of liquids. Principles. Centimeters, force of buoyancy, spring balance due to the weight of the stone. Decreases and hence elongation decreases in the upward force of the buoyancy. Let the water downward direction, pottery downward, pull the spot on the towards for the water weight on upwards, and the objective is for other sets. Become completely immersed. The sea water on the bottom is thrust buoyant force, experience of the force of the density. Pascal, Newton meter square is a unit of thrust. Newton meter square, Pascal is a unit of pressure, Pascal is a unit of pressure, Pascal. Thrust of Newton meter square. All liquids and gases are fluid. All liquids and gases are a fluid. Solid exerts pressure on the surface due to the weight. Solid pressure exerts due to the weight. Fluid have weight. They also exert pressure on the base and walls of the container on the enclosed. Pressure exerted in any confined mass of fluid transmitted and dismissed all directions. pressure over thrust with area, pressure over thrust with area, pressure over thrust with area, thrust with area, pressure over thrust with area. तो मास कांस्टेंट रहता है, मास कहीं भी ले जाएंगे, मास ऑलवेज कांस्टेंट, मास ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्ट कांस्टेंट, मास ऑलवेज ऑफ द कांस्टेंट, मास ऑलवेज करता है कांस्टेंट, असाइनमेंट कीजिए, असाइनमेंट कीजिए, असाइनमेंट कीजिए, वेट असाइनमेंट न्यूटन, न्यूटन ए बराबर एम इंटू ए बराबर एम इंटू ए मास इंटू जी, वेट ऑफ वेलोसिटी, असाइनमेंट वेट इज फोर्स न्यूटन, असाइनमेंट ऑफ वेट न्यूटन, direction directly proportional to the mass, directly proportional weight proportional to mass, mass बढ़ेगा तो weight भी बढ़ेगा, weight बढ़ेगा तो mass भी बढ़ेगा, weight और mass acceleration matter square of the earth due to the mass of the earth, the unit of g is mass of the same acceleration to the meter per second square, meter per second square, g gram square, एम जी बराबर जी एम इंटू डी स्क्वायर, एम इंटू यू स्क्वायर, एम बाई मास ऑफ द अर्थ, एम बराबर मास ऑफ द अर्थ, एम बराबर मास ऑफ द अर्थ, नॉट फैक्ट टू द अर्थ ऑफ द अर्थ. हैंडी को इंडी 1731 1810 स्क्वायर ऑफ द इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द स्क्वायर ऑफ द मीन, inversely proportional to the square of the means of the become a focus of the motion. Acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of the acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of the object. Acceleration बढ़ेगा तो object मास घटेगा, मास बढ़ेगा तो acceleration घटेगा, तो G constant proportional for the universal law of constant, universal law of constant, universal law of constant. Second directly proportional करता हूँ. Centrifugal force, tangent. Inversely proportional to the square of distance, inversely proportional. Universal law universal proportional pressure of the square of the between them proportional to 1 by d square. फोर्स बढ़ेगा तो घट जाएगा, बढ़ेगा तो हाफ हो जाएगा. universal law of constant proportional to square. law of always Kepler's law of always, law of area, law of period, law of area, law of period, law of area. चलिए ठीक है. तो get the pole equator. Radius of the earth increase, radius of the earth increase from the pole equator of the become greater to the equator. इधर मिनिमम होता है, इधर ऊपर हाफ एट पे जाएगा, मैक्सिमम होगा, डेप्थ में जाएगा मैक्सिमम. इंक्रीज करेगा, इधर डिक्रीज करेगा। मास हमेशा मास कांस्टेंट रहेगा, वेट बदलते रहेगा। ऑब्जेक्ट पे डिपेंड करता मास वेट इंटू वेट प्रोपोर्शनल टू मास। मास बढ़ेगा तो वेट भी बढ़ेगा, वेट बढ़ेगा तो मास भी बढ़ेगा। डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द मास। डायरेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल ऑब्जेक्ट इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू द मास। Directly proportional to the mass, directly proportional to the mass. Mass object depends on the mass, depends on the mass, depends on the mass. Object on the mass. Mass of the object is constant. Mass of the object is constant. Mass of the object is constant. चलिए तब आप उसके बाद वर्क एंड एनर्जी। वर्क और एनर्जी कितना इसको पढ़ते हैं कल। वर्क और एनर्जी का वर्क और एनर्जी कल पढ़ते हैं। चलिए तब फिर ठीक है। मून पे इसका वेट होता है हाफ 6 स्क्वायर। मून पे होता है 1/2 हाफ 1/6 इसका वेट होता है। मून पर इसका 1/6 मून पर होता है 1/6।